If you have ever felt lonely or you have craved a more connection, but you were like, man, I don't want to socialize. If you are struggling with high functioning social anxiety and you're tired of feeling on in social settings and you want to feel more connected, or if you are wanting to feel more charismatic and attract people to you, but you're sick of watching videos on how to be more charismatic that are all about how do you get people to like you and like people please. Oh my goodness, that is such a rant that I have. I am all for all of us learning more connection skills through the lens of charisma, which charisma is just really about connecting with people. But man, I am not about like, here are all these ways that you need to show up to get people to like you. It's so people pleasy, and I'm guessing that you probably don't want to people please, but you want to feel more connected. Y'all, this is the episode for you. Today, I'm going to give you my 3-part blueprint that is going to help you feel more socially confident, more authentic. It's going to help you be more charismatic, and it's going to help you enjoy being around people. Whether you are struggling with social anxiety or like even loneliness, if you're just struggling with just loneliness, but if you're struggling with both of them, I'm going to talk to you today about how to be socially delighted, how to invite connection into your life efficiently, how to create more connection everywhere you go, and how to be a connector in this world. And I'm so excited about this episode today because truly, y'all, this entire podcast, the Socially Delightful Podcast, is one of my ways of revolting against our hyper-individualistic culture, our culture of like purity that's patriarchal and supremacist, perfectionistic culture that's out there. We live in a culture that does not center connection, and we live in societal structures, physical structures, systems that do not center connection, and we are all needing to work together to change those things. And I hope by listening to this episode, it helps you revolt against those structures, against hyper-individualism and the culture that is preventing you from feeling connected. I hope this helps you revolt against that and feel more like yourself, feel more connected, and feel more delighted by your authenticity, and to feel more meaningfully connected, to fill your life with it. This is part of my revolt, this entire podcast series, all of the episodes, especially this episode, and I'm so glad to have you here with me on it. I also want to say this is the last episode of the Socially Delightful Podcast.
No, God! No, God, please, no! 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 No!
And I can't freaking believe it. I am so glad for the opportunity to not just annoy my best friends and my partner on all of my connection knowledge and everything I've been learning for the past 5 years, learning and working with people on, and to have a space to explain it in depth and creatively here in this podcast. It's been so fun, and it means so much to me that there are people that listened, whether you are just listening to this episode or you have listened to all 56 episodes. Thank you so much for being here. It makes me feel seen in the work that I'm doing in the world, but also thank you for wanting to increase your capacity to connect with other people, for wanting to be a connector in this world. We need more people that are connectors in this world. Thank you so freaking much.
I never said thank you.
And you'll never have to.
And without a further ado, we're gonna get into it. Now, I want to start by explaining one of the main roots of social anxiety. However, if you are just struggling with feeling lonely, this is going to be helpful for you to understand, because even if your social anxiety is pretty manageable, this cycle is likely still happening in some cases as well. And I want to start by saying, before I go into the cycle that's on the board here, and if you're listening, that's okay, I will explain it in detail, that this isn't reflective for everyone in all situations. Social anxiety is also influenced by biological factors, other psychological factors, and trauma. They all play a part in social anxiety. And this cycle here, I just think really helps us understand one of the main roots of social anxiety, but also understand how we show up in this world and how it's making us more lonely. And after years of working with people and studying this, I just think it provides such a clear understanding. So, if you're watching, you can see it on the whiteboard. This cycle starts with shame. One of the biggest roots, the main root of social anxiety that we're going to talk about today, is shame. Because here's the thing, we often think of social anxiety as, oh, you fear judgments from other people. You're afraid of what other people will think. But it's a little bit more complicated than that. Social anxiety is often, I'm afraid that other people will see the things that I feel ashamed of within myself. It's not just worried about what other people will think, it's worried that other people will think the same shameful thoughts you have about yourself. Y'all, because of this, I actually didn't realize that I had social anxiety growing up. I was kind of aware, but for the most part, I could be like extroverted. I could like decently like not be awkward. I don't know, somebody from my past is probably like, no, Jewel, I remember you being pretty quiet and awkward, because I definitely was at times. But for the most part, I could be pretty extroverted, and so I didn't think that I had social anxiety. However, I overthought everything I said and did, and I cried in my car almost after every social event, and I felt anxious frequently at social events and just didn't realize that I was feeling anxiety. And that's because I had so much shame for just literally existing in the world. Oh my goodness, I felt shame about damn near everything about myself. Everything about myself wasn't good enough, or needed to be better, or needed to be fixed. And so when I went into social settings, I was afraid people would see all of those things that I felt ashamed of. They would see the ways that I'm not enough, and then they would reject me because of it. So, shame creates this feeling of social anxiety because, again, we're anxious that other people will notice the things we feel ashamed of. And because of that, we tried to cope with this feeling of anxiety in two ways. We try to be socially perfect. We try to say the right thing at the right time in the right way. We try to make everybody laugh and be like a chameleon of, here I am, like socially performing. We try to get an A+ in our social performance. This is called social perfectionism. So we show up in social settings trying to be perfect, and then we show up in social settings making ourselves what's called overly responsible. We cope with trying to be overly responsible. We are making ourselves overly responsible for other people's feelings. Like, one time I had a client tell me that she was in the car getting drove home from one of her coworkers was driving her home. And in the car there was like a lull in the conversation, and my client at the time freaked out and was like, oh my gosh, I'm boring. There's a lull in this conversation because I'm boring, I'm not interesting. Right? The entire weight of how that conversation was going was on my client's shoulders, and she was thinking, well, if I was just more interesting, then I wouldn't like have this lull in this conversation. So making yourself overly responsible for the mood of the conversation, trying to make sure there's no tension at all, right? So this perfectionism and this over responsibility just makes us feel even more anxious. This makes socializing not freaking fun. So then we want to avoid other people, and we can get stuck in social avoidance. Social avoidance can become a habit, even for the most extroverted of us. And I would know because I had one of my most extroverted friends, like to the point I used to like live with this person. Hopefully it doesn't disclaim a lot, but I used to live with this person, okay? I know firsthand more than anybody how much this person loves being around people. And they were telling me, oh my gosh, I've gotten the habit of avoiding other people, and now it's even harder to get out there and socialize. So because of this social avoidance, that ends up creating us feeling lonely. So often, y'all, loneliness is tied to shame in some way, shape, or form, right? So often when we are lonely, we then make it mean, oh, it's because people don't actually care about me. It's because I'm not important. It's because I'm not good enough in some type of way. That's why I'm feeling lonely right now. Loneliness is just, wow, a highway for shame to just come on out. Our shameful thoughts. And then, because we feel shame, the cycle then continues. Okay? This is so important for us to see and to understand how all of these things really play together. I think they provide just such a good picture. And there's some things we can do about it. But before we do something about it, I also want to explain one more thing. And again, before I explain this thing, I want to also highlight again, there are societal structures at play that make it harder for us to be in community with each other and to feel connected. There are societal cultures that we live in, right? The culture that we live in cannot be understated because it's everywhere. Y'all, oh my goodness. You need to do everything on your own. You need to be self-sufficient. You should never get validation from anybody ever. You should never ever need that. That is plastered everywhere, and that's the culture that we swim in, and that cannot be understated. That's valid to be aware of. And to be aware of those societal cultures and structures is really important in helping us not shame ourselves. And if we don't shame ourselves, what happens to the rest of the cycle? It's a lot easier, right? So I want to start by saying that. And I have a triangle up on the board, y'all, as you can see. And in the middle of that triangle, it says the word connection. Y'all, there are like 3 big buckets of beliefs that impact our ability to connect with other people. To apply the connection formula, which if you're like, girl, what is that? This episode would be 10 years long if I kept going and how to create meaningful friendships. You can hire me. Unshameless plug. You can hire me to teach that workshop at your company, at your wellness event, etc. If you were my client, you will get the workshop. Don't worry, baby girl. But also, I give like the information is pretty much everywhere in this podcast. Go check out episode 2, where I explain to my friends how I made them my friends through the connection formula. If you're interested. That said, in the middle of this triangle here, I have the word connection. And there are 3 buckets of beliefs that impact our ability to apply the connection formula. They impact our ability to make friends. These 3 buckets of beliefs impact our ability to enjoy socializing and our ability to make friends. And those buckets of beliefs are our thoughts about ourselves, our thoughts about other people, and our thoughts about socializing and friendship itself, right? These thoughts, these beliefs impact our feelings and therefore our behaviors around other people, right? If we think generally for the most part that other people aren't trustworthy, it's gonna be really hard to want to reach out and go make friends, isn't it? Right? This also, I think, is a new way if you're familiar with attachment styles. If not, check out the link below. I have an episode on attachment styles. But honestly, y'all, attachment styles are just a collection of our beliefs, feelings, and behaviors in how we relate to other people. So, what I'm going to give you today, my 3-part blueprint, is going to help you with these beliefs. So that way you can have more beliefs about others, about yourself, and about friendship, and about socializing, so that you can feel more connected. Again, we're not just talking about how to attract more connection into your life. I want you to feel it more often.
Art thou feeling it now, Mr. Krabs?
And when there isn't a connection in your life, or you are rejected, that you know how to feel more connected. And to do that, we gotta have the base of this triangle. So let's go. Again, there are 3 buckets to be more socially delighted. And the first bucket is kind mind management. Kind mind management. There are tools out there that will teach you how to quote unquote change your thoughts, but not really in a kind and supportive and accepting way, dare I say. Right? I just told you that your beliefs about yourself, about other people, and about socializing and friendship will impact your ability to feel connected and then therefore to create connection, right? So you might realize, oh, I have a crappy belief where I just assume that people don't care about me, or I'm just the least favorite friend. That's a sucky belief. I don't want you to hear that and to be like, oh, I shouldn't be believing this, something's wrong with me, and then to hyper-focus and police your thoughts like crazy. I don't want you to do that. That's also not going to help you feel less shame. If you're hearing this and you're realizing, oh, I need to change my beliefs and some of my thoughts, and you're like, I don't want you to poop on yourself and shame yourself about that. That's not actually going to help. Right? That's just going to create more shame. Truly, we need to start with kind mind management. I'm going to give you a really big tool that's going to help you with this. But before I do that, I want to give you a story. And your brain's going to remember this forever. I got this from Dr. Ellen Hendrickson. She explains this as well as she talks about social anxiety in her book, How to Be Yourself. She's been so influential, and oh my gosh, she included me in one of her Substacks recently because I asked her a question. Gasparilla. I was so excited. This story is, I want you to imagine this. I want you to imagine there are two swim coaches. And one swim coach talks to a kid by saying, oh my gosh, you need to do better. Why aren't you faster? What's wrong with you? Get it together. Let's go. You should know this already. You should be floating already. You should know how to do the butterfly already. You're ridiculous. What do you think that's going to motivate that swimmer to do? Likely, that person's going to be like, I don't want to swim anymore. Or like they're going to dread going to swim practice. They're going to be embarrassed while they're in swim practice. They're not going to want to swim anymore. Like, that's just increasing the likelihood of that. Compared to if the kid had a different swim coach who talked to them like, you can do it. You got this. Yep, you just got to tweak this motion. You have a great start. We just need to adjust this. And then you can do the butterfly stroke, no problem. It's okay that you're not floating yet. Let's figure out what you were doing, and then we'll tweak it and see if that will help you float, right? If a kid had that swim coach who was like, oh, I noticed you're doing better, etc., who was talking to them in this way, what do you think they're likely to do? They're likely to be motivated. They're likely to feel comfortable asking for questions during practice. They're likely to want to keep going. They're going to be excited about swim. They're going to be more confident, y'all. And that is the important thing I want you to take away from this when you are managing your mind. I don't just want you to hear this episode today and to think, okay, I need to stop like thinking shameful thoughts and I need to think more positive thoughts. Because probably, you could think more positive thoughts about who you are as an individual on this earth. But I don't want you to shame yourself for having shameful thoughts. And so one way you can do that is through kind management, right? Like, it's just also true in general, y'all, that you can't connect when you're drowning in self-criticism, in shame spirals. That's just going to emotionally dysregulate you, right? This kind management is going to help you feel more regulated and connected with yourself. It's going to help you quiet your inner critic and stay with yourself. And I'm going to give you an exercise on how to do this. However, I want to say this is such a brief, introduction. Shame resilience work by Brené Brown is really effective as well. And so are so many things that I work with my clients on that I just can't fit in an episode without it being 3 hours long. However, this tool is one of the first tools that I teach my clients. And it's because it helps quiet that shameful voice in a way without having to shame the shameful voice. And it's through Dr. Kristen Neff's work on self-compassion. That's right, we're talking about self-compassion. Do not skip ahead, because I bet if you've never heard this before and you're like, okay, whatever, be compassionate, I bet you really don't know how to actually be compassionate with yourself. Well, Dr. Kristen Neff has been studying this her entire career, and she came up with these ways to do it. So we want to start with mindfulness. If you're recognizing that you're feeling anxiety at a social event, right? Notice your experience without judgment. Mindfulness, right? Label it. Label what's going on. Oh, I'm feeling anxious. I'm feeling the increase in heart rate, feeling the little sweaty palms. Just noticing it without judgment. The second thing to do is to embrace common humanity. And this really helps you recognize that you're not alone in this. So it's to ask yourself, how is this a common, normal, human experience? So if you're feeling social anxiety at an event, you might be like, so many people struggle with social anxiety. You could think to yourself, one thing that I've said on this podcast numerous times, that the only people that don't have any level of social anxiety, they don't have a level of social alertness, are people that are sociopathic. And great news, you're not a sociopath, right? How is this normal? It's normal to feel this way when meeting new people for the first time, or even as you are working on growing your confidence. It's normal for the social anxiety to be there a little bit, right? How is it normal, common, and human? One of my favorite thoughts to think that's related to common humanity is, I wonder how many people on earth are feeling this way with me right now. So good. Then you move on to self-kindness. So to speak to yourself with care, right? A way to do this is to really access reassuring thoughts or encouraging thoughts, like how a best friend would talk to you. For self-kindness, like let's say you are feeling socially anxious at an event and you're recognizing, I see the experience of anxiety. I notice the sensations, common humanity. I'm not alone in this. I'm sure there's many other people in the room that feel this way. This is normal to experience. And then self-kindness could be like reassuring of, it's okay. It makes sense. I got you. Like to yourself, you can say that, I got you. And then encouraging and being like, look, you don't just stop being socially anxious on a dime, right? You don't just lessen your social anxiety like that. It takes practice, and I'm practicing right now. That's so encouraging. That's so kind. So doing this is going to help you so much. This self-compassion right here. And you can also use this with anything that you really need to pour some level of acceptance on. So for me, in the past, I felt really insecure about my knowledge about my level of intelligence. And this is something I would be like, okay, mindfulness, I'm feeling insecure about my level of intelligence, or I'm noticing that insecurity come up. Common humanity, how is this normal? How is this human? A lot of people feel this way. It's something that's like pushed onto us by societies. We need to know everything, and we're not allowed to question things or to not know something or to say we don't know something. That's okay. And then self-kindness, right? That's okay. I got you. It's okay. You are intelligent in all of these other ways, Jewel. Like working through the steps in order helped me pour some level of acceptance and some kind mind management on top of flaws and insecurities that I had. Y'all, this right here is going to change your inner dialogue and the way you talk to yourself. Applying this one thing right here is going to be so massive in helping you be less socially anxious and therefore more connected. It cannot be understated. This is going to change the narrator in your brain in so many ways if you practice this practice right here. And I can tell you that from firsthand experience, because in the beginning, this used to have to be really intentional for me, where I'd have to be like, okay, mindfulness, common humanity, self-kindness, where I'd have to like do it in my head, or I'd have to journal it. Now, truly what happens now, when like whatever I have a feeling or I'm any type of way, this is how I talk to myself now, where I recognize what's going on, I normalize it, right? The common humanity piece. I'm like, oh, this is a normal human thing. I normalize it, and then I'm kind to myself. That's the way I freaking talk to myself now. It's awesome. Thank you, Dr. Neff, right? The second bucket is to enjoy yourself as you are now. So really related to kind mind management, you can really use the principles of self-compassion, again, to pour some acceptance on you. But here's why enjoying yourself as you are now helps you be more socially confident and delighted. It's because when you can genuinely enjoy your quirks, your gifts, and even your imperfections, oh my goodness, it changes how people feel around you because of the way you feel about yourself. right? This step right here is really about unshaming yourself. It's about being in a space where you don't need to fix yourself in any type of way. And it's about building a sense of joy with yourself, about building self-esteem. And not by fixing anything, but by getting curious and getting compassionate about the truth of who you are. Because here's the thing, y'all. Here's the thing. A lot of us are putting rules on ourselves. We're thinking, oh, once I lose weight, then I can feel good about myself. Once I make friends, then I can feel good about myself. Once I achieve this thing in my career, then I can feel good about myself. That's not self-acceptance. That's not self-love, truly. Self-acceptance can only be done in the face of our imperfections, right? If you are needing yourself to be some level of different, or to be somewhere different in your life, or some level of perfect in order to accept yourself, that's not self-acceptance. Self-acceptance is really about seeing any type of flaw that you have, and as it sounds, accepting it. Accepting it doesn't mean approving of it. As I have said numerous times on this podcast, my older attachment style is fearful avoidant or the disorganized attachment. One part of having that attachment style is this attitude that I would get when I shut down in any kind of confrontation or conflict, even if it's just a simple discussion. I would shut down, and I would get to this space where I'd be so shut down that I would appear like I didn't care. I was nonchalant, unbothered. I'd be like, whatever. Yeah, so you're upset about that, whatever. I would shut down and sound like that. I don't have to approve of that behavior, but I also don't have to shame myself for it either. I can pour some acceptance on it, right? Some self-compassion work to be a little bit more neutral and accepting with it, and encourage myself, just like the positive swim coach, I can talk to myself that way too. And so here are 3 practices to start enjoying yourself as you are now. Pick one part of you that you normally try to hide and soften towards it using the principles of self-compassion. And remember, this isn't something to be fixed. This part of you isn't something to be fixed. It's something to be cared for. When I took that approach of being caring towards my attitude in confrontation, I could then be hey, I need space. I'm my nervous system is so shut down right now. I can ask for space. That has helped so much in my closest and most intimate relationships, y'all. Right? So enjoy yourself as you are now. Pour some love on your tenderness. Pick one part that you normally try to hide and soften towards it. The other thing that you can do is to create a self-adoration folder, or a box, if you will. This could be saving screenshots of compliments, of moments where you felt really proud, and little sparks of delight. I have kept every letter that has been kind that anybody has ever wrote to me, and it not only is words of affirmation that helps me feel good about myself, but wow, I went through my box of letters the other day, and oh my goodness, it made me feel so connected to the world. You know how many people wrote me letters in college that I don't speak to anymore, and I was like, wow, thank you so much for being a part of my life at that point and seeing me, and for us to share this connection. I reached out to so many people going through my box of letters the other day, and I was like, oh my gosh, I hope you're so well, and it just, wow, that helped me feel connected to the world in such a beautiful way. So save these things and go through them every so often. This is really helpful because it's easy for our brain to get focused on the moments where we felt rejected, even if that person wasn't rejecting us, right? So for those of us with rejection sensitivity, it can be really easy for us to focus on the moments where we felt rejected or disconnected. Oh my goodness. Have a self-adoration folder. This folder, the self-adoration folder or box, it could be letters and screenshots and messages from other people, but it could also just be moments where you really enjoyed yourself. One thing that I did is I wrote in a notebook all of the time, and I've never been a consistent every single day journaler, but I like to write things down And when I would start writing things down in the corner, I'd often write something I adored about myself that day. Life-changing. The next thing that you can do to enjoy yourself as you are now is to explore your authenticity without trying to fix it. So to ask yourself questions like, what's something that lights me up? What's something I love about myself that others might not expect from me? Again, as I said earlier, I had an insecurity and a thought for a long time that I wasn't intelligent. That was literally a thought that I had. I'm just not as smart as other people. Other people are going to find out that I'm kind of slow, was literally a thought that I had. Y'all, one thing I love about myself is I'm the most curious motherfucker I have ever met in my life. If there's anything out there I'm curious about, I'm going to Google it. I will figure out and try to understand that thing. I love that about myself. You can also ask yourself, where do I feel the most like me? Like, where do I feel the most like myself? This isn't about admiring yourself exactly. It's not about improving. It's just about recognizing what feels good to you. This is such a simple thing to do, but is so powerful. And I want you to be aware that what your brain might come up with is it might be like, oh, but I should be working out more, so I'm going to write that down. We're going to be radically honest in those answers to that questions. The next bucket is to find togetherness with other people. Because y'all, connection isn't just about charm or conversation skills. Truly, it's not. It's about how you see the people around you. It's about when your body feels safe and you can actually enjoy who you are. Instead of walking into a social setting being like, oh my gosh, are they gonna like me? What if they judge me? I don't know what to say. Instead, how can we enjoy this moment together? This bucket is all about building what I call like the togetherness habit. And it's a mindset that shifts socializing from something where you have to prove yourself instead into something where you're co-creating with others. The togetherness habit is going and looking around and being like, how are we in this together? When I go on walks, this is one of my favorite things to do, is to go on a walk and to think about, oh, how am I in this together with the neighbors that I walk by? We're in this together to make this a friendly street. I'm gonna wave at people. I'm excited. That makes me feel so much more connected in my body. Here's the thing. What do you do when you feel more connected in your body? You behave more connectedly. You're friendlier, you're more open, your body language is literally more open. The togetherness habit, y'all. So it might sound like we're in this together to have a great conversation. We're in this together to make this elevator ride a little bit more enjoyable. We're in this together to make the world around us a little kinder. It could also be looking into, how are we in this together? What do we have in common? When I go to okay, hear me out. I have a best friend who has another best friend. I'm just going to share one of their names because I don't think they'll care. Okay, my best friend Katie has another best friend that she hangs out with often. Y'all, I could be in a space where I'm like jealous and I'm comparing, and I'm not saying that those feelings aren't valid. We're not going to shame those feelings. We're going to pour self-compassion on those feelings. Right? But when I'm around that other best friend, I really think that that other best friend and I have gotten along so well because I do this, and I think about, oh, we're in it together because we both love Katie so much. This girl has now become my bestie-in-law. And we're like, we love Katie so much. We are in this together to make sure Katie has a wonderful birthday. We are in this together for Katie. Oh my goodness, it feels so good just even talking about it. Right? We're in this together to have a great conversation. This goes back to what we talked about earlier and about how you don't have to do everything perfectly and you don't have to make yourself overly responsible for how other people feel in a conversation because you're in it together with that person. You might also look for, what do we already have in common? What do I want to understand more about this person? Because we're in it together. A conversation, y'all, at the end of the day, is two people mutually agreeing to understand each other and to have a decent time in that conversation. So what do we have in common? What can I understand about them? What do I not know about them that I can learn, right? It incites this curiosity as well, the togetherness habit. Now, of course, this doesn't apply to every context. Boundaries and safety always come first. But in most day-to-day moments, this lens of shared togetherness opens up the door to more connection and ease. And since our brains are wired, again, to focus on what went wrong, we have a negativity bias. To focus on what went wrong at the social event, or what didn't feel right, or, oh, maybe I said this wrong and that person didn't take it very well. Since our brains are wired to do that, after social interactions, it can be so effective to jot down a moment where you felt connected. Smile, a shared laugh, a kind word. Y'all, when I realized, and this was before I got into doing this work, that I did this for myself. When I realized, oh wow, I cry in the car after every social event. On the way home, I'm in tears. And then I'm in tears when I go to sleep at night because I'm overthinking about the entire social event. When I realized that, I started keeping a notebook in my car. And if I really needed to write about my feelings and to jot down my feelings, I would. But when I'd get into my car, I would start to write down the moments where I felt connected and the moments where I felt like, oh, here's what I love about how I showed up. This really applies, honestly, to these buckets right here, to 1 and 2. I would get in the car and I would write down, okay, here's the moments where I felt connected. Oh, I got cut off mid-sentence and this person looped back around to make sure I could finish my story. Or this person gave me a really great compliment. This person was so present with me. Or we laughed so hard together as a group. Writing that down, I cannot emphasize how impactful that was. And now it informed one of the practices I teach my clients, which is called social aftercare. Writing down what moments of connection did I experience, and then I would also write down, what do I love about how I showed up? So effective. So to go over this blueprint for how to be socially delighted, how to have more authenticity, connection, and confidence, less loneliness, less disconnection, less social anxiety, is to do that again through one kind management. And I gave you a really big thing here that's going to be really helpful, which is self-compassion. But also, I want to say, Shame Resilience by Brené Brown is so effective and something I weave into every session that I do with my clients. And I teach my clients tools that, again, would take me way too long to explain here in this episode, for how to shift their thinking from in a place that's unshaming, from a place that's rooted in kindness, acceptance, understanding, and self-compassion. I don't want you, again, to hear, okay, the way you think about yourself, others, and friendship and socializing, your beliefs about those things impacts your ability to feel connected and to shame yourself. Because yes, your belief about yourself, others, and socializing does impact your ability to feel really connected. But again, we don't want to shame. And this self-compassion from Dr. Kristen F. I think is going to be really effective. But I just want to say, this is such an intro of kind mind management. And then again, to enjoy who you are now. And those practices to enjoy who you are now, pour some love on one of your insecurities, create a self-adoration folder, and explore your authenticity with questions, right? This is so effective. And also, I want to say, just the beginning of what I offer. I offer and I teach my clients feminist charisma, and this is a big part of it. Anyway, same thing with the last one. I just recently dropped an episode on how to have better conversations and gave so many tips for how to be quote-unquote more charismatic and to have better conversations. Truly, y'all, finding togetherness with other people is one of the biggest hacks that will help you naturally apply a lot of those conversation tips, truly. And I also, just this week, recorded in last week's episode, I just recorded episode 55 with my friends on advice that my friends had, lessons that they learned in friendship. And one of the things that you may have heard my friends say is that I really make people feel seen, even in their insecurities or like tender parts. Is I'm like, hey, I want you to know you can talk to me about that. If my friends are going through something or they're feeling insecure, I'm really good at making them feel seen. I learned this about myself through this episode, that I'm really good at making that person feel seen. I think one of the reasons why is because I approach that conversation from finding togetherness. Hey, you're going through something, I'm here for you, and I want you to know that I see that. Hey, here's something that I've noticed that you do, even if it's a quote-unquote negative thing, and I just want to understand it more. I come with such an air of togetherness to my confrontations with my friends that I confront my friends often, but I don't think they feel that way. I bring up things often. I talk about our friendship often, how I experience it. And I think truly what helps me do that is finding togetherness. Finding togetherness also has helped me be more bold in declaring my friendship with somebody. That's one thing that I noticed with myself this past week, was with one of my best friends. She just went traveling and she came back and I was like, hey, don't leave me again. I know you had so much fun. I'm so happy for you. I'm so glad you're back. And like, I missed you so much. Like, finding that sense of togetherness truly helps me be more bold in my love of other people, even in like silly, like jokey ways. And I really think that has allowed me to create deeper bonds as well, is by being like, hey, I really enjoy spending time with you. Let's do it again. Like, coming from this place of togetherness opens you up for connection, where you become basically a big walking invitation for people to connect with you. And it's up to them on whether or not they want to accept that invitation to connect. But truly, you become the most inviting, welcoming, warm, playful, fun invitation to connect with other people through finding togetherness. So doing this is going to help you enjoy socializing more. It's going to help you feel less lonely. It's going to help you feel less socially anxious and be socially delighted. And again, I am absolutely delighted to have had you here. Please, if you haven't already, follow my social media, stay up to date. Okay, there's going to be some more socially delightful stuff that's going on over on there. If you are interested in working with me, doing my one-on-one coaching program, you can find the information below. If you are interested in having me come to your company or to your wellness event or to your school, oh my gosh, I'd just be so delighted. Speaking is something I absolutely love, in teaching, and dare I say I'm damn good at it. So you can find that all on my website. But I want to be so clear. Thank you so much for hanging out with me today, for hanging out with me in my other episodes. I am absolutely delighted to have you here. And now, go out there and be a connector in this freaking world. The world needs more walking, warm invitations of connection. And I know this episode, y'all, can really help you. If you are kind to yourself when you manage your emotions and your thoughts and your feelings, if you enjoy yourself as you are now, as the imperfect, lovely human that you are now, and you find togetherness with other people, you will be a connector in this world, and we need you. We need connection activists in this world. We need socially delighters. So thank you so much for hanging out with me, making me feel seen, but thank you so much for doing this for yourself, for you to feel more connected, and for the world. Thank you.